I'm Chris, you're watching FRAG-MENTAL. Today I'm going to bring to you 3 gorgeous tobacco fragrances that might not be on your radar. To find out more, stay tuned to FM. If you followed my channel for any length of time, you'll know that tobacco is my favourite note. I just love how rich and resinous and intoxicating it can be. And it can be done in lots of different ways. Tobacco leaf can be used to give a slightly greener, airier feel to a fragrance. So these 3 fragrances are scents that until recently weren't on my radar, and they may not be on your radar. So I just wanted to bring them to you. But first of all, just let me give you a quick rundown about some of the niche and designer fragrances that I really enjoy that contain the note of tobacco, just in case you're new to fragrances and you've not yet started to look into tobacco. So I'm going to do a quick rundown. So Tom Ford Tobacco Oud, absolutely beautiful. Mugler's Pure Havane. Viktor & Rolf Spice Bomb Extreme. Dolce & Gabbana's The One, probably the most mass appealing of all of them. Zara Wanted by Night. And into the niche, the masterpiece that is Serge Lutens Shaggy. And this one is very affordable actually. You can find this for around £100 for 100ml. This is Frank Buclay's Tobacco. Aaron Terence Hughes' Tobacco Oud and Vanilla is a stunner. And another fantastically affordable, beautiful fragrance is Alexandria Fragrance's original creation, which is called Hafez 1984. Gorgeous bit of rum in this one as well as the tobacco. Beautiful stuff. And my favourite of all time at the moment is Roger Parfum's Enigma. This is a funny one because it's not got the most pronounced tobacco note of all of these fragrances, but overall just the composition is something that I love, and it contains tobacco, so I wanted to mention it. Okay, after that quick rundown of some of my favourite tobacco fragrances, and I'm sure some of those are yours too, let's get into the 3 fragrances that I'm going to be talking about in this video. So this is a house that I hadn't discovered until late on last year actually, in 2019. It was whilst I was in New York. I went there for Scent Explore, but Jeremy Fragrance had an event at the Perfumery, and I'm so glad that I decided to go along to that because I discovered so many interesting brands, and the staff and the team there were fantastic. They introduced me to a brand called L'Arc. Now this one is their tobacco fragrance. They actually said to me, whichever one you really enjoy, feel free to have a bottle of that and, you know, make some content, make a video. So I chose, of course, the tobacco fragrance, which is called Evasion or Evasion. In this, we've got cinnamon, lavender, tobacco leaves, chocolate, honey, vanilla, and cedar. After hearing those notes, you're probably thinking that sounds yummy. Well, yeah, that's a good way to describe this fragrance. So we've got the cinnamon in here, it's lightly spiced, and the lavender is a main player in this scent actually. It's a pairing of tobacco and lavender, and also there's some honey used as well to sweeten things up, as well as vanilla. But even though it's got some darker notes, it's got some chocolate, it's got the tobacco, some woods in here, it still has this quite uplifting, bright aspect to it as well, which balances the darker notes out nicely. It may be coming from tobacco leaf, which is, rather than being a kind of woody, resinous type of tobacco, it's more of an airy, slightly green, uplifting use of tobacco. I do think there is a more resinous tobacco in here as well as tobacco leaf. I don't think it is just tobacco leaf. The lavender in here, which is absolutely beautiful, it's not a very potent lavender that you might associate with fougere fragrances that sometimes people smell a little dated, you know, reminds them of air fresheners, house air fresheners, that kind of thing. It's not that lavender at all. It's somehow different. It's difficult to explain why it isn't that lavender. It's there, it hints at lavender, and it's always there throughout the fragrance, just pairing nicely with the tobacco, but it's never giving off this dated smell that lavender sometimes can. The indulgent parts of this fragrance are the honey, the chocolate, the vanilla. They all smell very natural. I don't know if it's vanillin that's used or if it is natural vanilla, but it certainly just smells very rich and well-rounded. These notes do kind of take us a little bit towards the gourmand, but not so sweet and not so indulgent that it becomes only wearable in really cold temperatures. I do think it is quite a versatile fragrance. These sweeter notes combined with the tobacco and the kind of bright, airy nature that this fragrance seems to have as well, just make it a really lovely, balanced composition. It's right up my street. I have it sprayed here and it's just one of those that is addictive. You just can't stop smelling it. I absolutely love this fragrance. I would probably give it a 10 out of 10. It's just so wearable. And in terms of niche, I think it's very accessible, certainly at the accessible end of niche. It has that beautiful structure and backbone and complexity and very natural smelling composition that you would associate with niche, but it's quite mass appealing as well. It's very easy to wear. I think it probably would work best in autumn and winter, but I think particularly here in the UK, I could absolutely enjoy wearing this in the summer, you know, maybe cooler summer days. If it's a really, really hot summer day, which we don't get too many of those here, then maybe I would go for something a little fresher than this, but personally I feel that I would enjoy wearing this all year round. If I was to compare this to any other existing fragrances, just to give you a bit of an idea, it's not the same, but it's kind of in the same ballpark as Herod from Parfum de Marly. I think because of that pairing of the vanilla and the tobacco. It doesn't have the incense that Herod has, and Herod doesn't have the lavender, but this one, to me, seems to be doing a similar thing. So if you like Herod, I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy this one. If you wanted to pick this one up, then you can buy this from the place that I got it from, which is Perfumery in New York City. I will leave a link to that store down below. They are retailing this at $198 for 100ml, so kind of mid-level pricing for niche. I believe that the shipping on this would be free within the United States as well. As ever, I would always recommend sampling first. Please always try to sample if you can. And Perfumery do allow you to buy 2ml samples for $8, so a great opportunity to try this from that store. I think you could probably get hold of that wherever you are in the US. If you're in the UK, then Javoy are carrying this, so if you can get to London and you can get to Javoy Mayfair, then go in and give this a sniff. And Javoy are usually pretty good at giving some samples as well, so you might be able to get a sample from Javoy if you go in and inquire about this fragrance. They are retailing this at $157 for the 100ml. So all in all, this is a highly wearable, very classy, very sophisticated tobacco scent. Love it. The next one is one that I'd wanted to get my nose on for the longest time. I'd seen that Joe sent me, who also has a YouTube video. I'll link to his channel down below. He was talking about this fragrance and said it is one of the best tobacco fragrances he'd ever smelled. He also loves a little bit of oud, which I think is why he likes this one. I also came back from New York with this fragrance. It is from the house of Amouroud and it's called Eau de Tabac. The team at Amouroud are fantastic. I met them in Milan last year as well, and they'd heard that I really wanted to try Eau de Tabac, and I had since tried it. I'd gone into Harrods and I'd smelled it and really loved it. So let's just take a closer look at the bottle. It's a beautiful bottle, this one, so let's zoom in on this and I'll read out the notes for you. In this one we've got ginger, coriander, heliotrope, saffron, tobacco, oud, olibanum, amberwood, Alaskan cedar, cistus, vanilla bourbon and musk. The main things I get from this one are spices, oud and tobacco. The only spice that really just seems detectable to me is saffron, but I think the others just seem to be kind of lending to the blend. It all seems very smoothly blended in terms of the spices. The tobacco here is beautiful. We get a nice kind of woody, resinous type of pipe tobacco, I guess you would say. The thing that is running through the heart of this fragrance, it's in the heart of the notes, and it is the backbone to this fragrance, and it's the oud. Now I would describe the oud here as a tiny little bit funky, a little bit kind of barnyardy, but when that is used in just the right amount, and it isn't used in too big an amount here, it just gives you this very satisfying, assertive punchiness. It lends attitude to a fragrance. It gives it a really strong backbone. So the oud does run through this. You get it right from the opening and it stays right through into the dry down. So I would say if you really hate oud, if you really don't like oud, then you may not want to go for this. But if you don't mind a little bit of oud, just used in the right amount to bring out the best in all the other notes and just lend some backbone to the fragrance, then I would say this one is definitely worth trying out. And what stops this this from just being overtaken by the oud is how well it's balanced with the other notes in here. So there's some resins, there's some woody notes, there's a beautiful vanilla accord. Everything just balances really well and it becomes this lovely smooth composition just with a very satisfying little bit of funk. If you wanted to look at purchasing this, then Amouroud are selling this on their website for $210. That is for 100ml. So again, kind of mid-range pricing for niche. We can still get a lot more expensive than that. If you wanted to purchase this in the UK, then the standard price in quite a few department stores like Harrods, Selfridges seems to be £166. Again, that is for the 100ml. So if you think you like the sound of this, if you like a little bit of oud, then you might like this one. So Amouroud are bringing the funk to tobacco.
Join the Scent Geeks every Monday as we podcast about all things fragrance. You'll find us anywhere you can usually find a podcast. Links are in the description below this video. See you there, geeks.
It can't all be niche, can it? We've got to have some designers in the list as well, because not everyone is into niche type prices. So I've got a designer here for you, and this is probably one of the best value and one of the cheapest designers that you can pick up. This is from the tobacco collection from Zara. It is called Unexpected Fresh Spicy. Not many notes listed, but we have cinnamon, patchouli, sandalwood and tobacco. I think there's some notes in this that aren't listed, so I'm just going to have a guess at what I think is in here. I have actually this one sprayed here. So I feel like I get a bit of saffron in this, and I feel like I do because it reminds me of another fragrance that is gorgeous as well that has saffron in it, and this is Issey Miyake's Noir Ambre. Very popular fragrance, sometimes difficult to get hold of. Very good fragrance. If you do see this one, then definitely have a smell, see if you like it. I love it. But this has saffron running through the heart of this fragrance, and I feel that that this one has similarities to that. When you smell this one, or when I did anyway, it smelled like other things. It reminded me of other things, but I just could not pin it down to one particular fragrance. So I think that parts of it reminded me of Tobacco Vanille. I've heard other people say it reminded them of Spice Bomb Extreme. So I don't know if it's a direct clone to any fragrance, or certainly it's not one that I can just pin down, but it just seems to be an amalgamation of lots of other really nice kind of spiced tobacco fragrances. It's got a lovely spicy pop in the opening, and that leads us into the tobacco in the heart, and then it doesn't really develop much more than that. It kind of just sits there until it fades away. That is the one negative about this fragrance, and most of Zara's fragrances is the longevity. So you don't get the best longevity, in my experience anyway, with Zara. Some people say they do, and I guess it depends on skin and how much you spray on. But generally, you know, with an average kind of spray routine with this one, I was getting a really nice pop to the opening, which would last for about 30 minutes, and then I'd get a bit of projection for around 60 minutes, and then it would become a skin scent, and I wasn't really getting waft. It wasn't really that detectable, although I could tell it was still there, it was still working. So I think you're going to get around kind of 6 hours, I think would be fair to say, with this fragrance. So it's not going to last you all day. If you want a fragrance that is going to last you a full kind of 8-9 hour working day, then I think this one is going to have faded by the end of the day. But at £12.99, then you can throw this in your work bag, you can take it to work with you, and if you do feel like you want to top up, if you want your fragrance to last all the way, then at lunchtime just have a fresh application. Well worth it, because I think it is a scent that would work really well in the office actually. It's one of those tobacco fragrances that's not going to be too much in anyone's faces. It's going to be very pleasant. I think people around you would really enjoy smelling this, and it smells different to the usual designer type smells that we can so often, you know, be used to smelling. So if you want something really affordable, something that has a beautiful spiced tobacco composition, then I would absolutely recommend going into Zara and trying this. Usually they have all the bottles out, so if you go into a Zara store, you might find this one, and you can have a spray, see if you like it. At the time of filming this video, they did have it in stock on their website in the UK, so you can still order this one online. I'd even say I don't really condone blind buying, but at £12.99, if you like spicy tobacco fragrances, then I would say this is probably a fairly safe blind buy. If you don't like it, then at some point, as Zara always do, they will probably stop selling this. It will get hyped up, people will want it, and you'll probably be able to sell it for double or triple the price on eBay. So I would say it's a worthy blind buy. So there we go. 3 tobacco fragrances that I love, which I thought may not be on your radar. Let me know if you've tried these. I know the niche ones in here aren't talked about that much. I can't understand why, because they're great fragrances, and that's why I'm doing it. I want to talk about them, and I want to let you guys know that they're good, and it's worth at least sampling them to try them out, especially, you know, if you're a tobacco fan like me. So let me know if you've tried any of them. I would love to hear your thoughts. I did forget to say that the two niche fragrances, the Amouroud and the L'Arc fragrance, both great performance. I got about 2 to 3 hours projection and around 8 to 10 hours of longevity out of those. So they were fantastic performers. As I said, the Zara, not quite as good, but much, much lower and affordable. So all of them, I think, are worthy of your time. Do let me know if you enjoy these fragrances. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, keep tuning into FM and keep smelling good.